Hello there, welcome to Gem and Me the Podcast Season 2. It's truly an honor to have you listen to my show. This podcast is here to serve as an empowering source, as a community and healer. Remember, you have the power within you to achieve all you desire to be and have. We all have obstacles, doubts, traumas to heal from. The only way to change our life is by changing ourselves. This is why you are here. To discover your unlimited potential and become the person you were created to be. Thanks for tuning in. Hello everyone, Gem and Me here. Thank you so much for being here today. It's truly an honor to come on here and inspire and empower all of you with different topics that really dig deep to who we are, who we been, and who we want to be. I truly believe that in community we are able to heal, we're able to change and empower each other and get to our goals and become that person that we're supposed to be here on earth and fulfill our purpose. So this is why I'm here. This is why I do Gem and Me. This is why I have the podcast. This is why I thrive to create communities that really come together to empower each other. So today I want to really speak about the first generation reinvention, right? And as I speak to different first gens, I realize that we have so much, I would say responsibility and so much accountability to take part, right? So as a first gen, we are our first, right, grad in different capacities, right? Maybe high school, undergrad, grad school, doctorate, master's, you name it. Right? We are the first to hold maybe a six-figure job, right? We're the first to maybe buy a house. We're the first to be in the board, right? As a person of color. We're the first to open a business, right? There's so much that us first generations are accomplishing, and I am so proud to call myself a first gen. But we must say that as a first gen, it is very difficult to navigate in these spaces that never been navigated before by a person of color, right? Not to mention there is a lot of red tape, a lot of barriers, but there is also a lot of resources out there, a lot of a lot of people who are willing to help. And I feel like that is the power that community brings, right? In order to like put yourself out there, network, come together, share, empower each other, strengthen each other, share resources, share visibility, right? Kind of giving each other what the other person is missing, to some extent. And so I really wanted to come on here and say that as a first gen myself and being able to accomplish, some things that have been so out of my comfort zone, so out of what I know, so out of what my family has done. And that does give me some pride, but it does also give us some type of struggles and challenges that come with that, not only to accomplish them, but to also, I would say, take off those labels or identities that we have been given. To some extent, I feel like a lot of the things that we as adults do or identify as are given to us with like no type of consent or approval, right? Growing up in a Hispanic community or Hispanic parents, I could say that for the most part, most Hispanic first gens are given these titles, these responsibilities, these things that should be accomplished. You should go to school, you should get good grades, you should, be in a job that is stable, has insurance or whatever it is, right? Because those things have been known to be stable, known to work, right? Known to be some type of security, right, to our family. And, there's no wrong behind that. That may have worked in the past, but as a first gen now living in this world and society, I could say that a lot of first gens are not happy with their own self-image, their own beliefs. And I really want to amplify that to be my own, right? I believe that there's a lot of things that we were taught that were right, or were taught that were normal. And for me, they're no longer right, or something that I want to live by, right? And all of those beliefs, values, things that were ingrained in our childhood, in our daily living, that a lot of times comes as a survival mode mechanism. Because back in the days, it was all about surviving, right? It was all about having a roof, a bed, and a plate on the table. And a lot of us grew up like, oh, we're in survival mode. We have to figure it out. We have to work, 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 make sure we have the essentials and call it a day, right? So since our brain was kind of developed in this way of just survival mode, just seek the essentials, just do what you're able to do to kind of, we have also limited ourselves to a lot, right? In the ways that we maneuver ourselves in the workplace, the way we maneuver ourselves in school, the way we seek out different relationships, right? I'm happy to see that, first gens are no longer pressured to be placed in that role, like, oh, when are you having kids, right? Like, no, that's no longer a pressure to us. And I value that because, I feel like we should be able to heal, be able to be better humans as first gens, to be able to be like, no, like, I'm going to heal myself before I bring another human in this world. And I am obviously in charge of that person in many years to, nurture them, to educate them, to love them, right? The way that I can, the best way that I can. And so a lot of this work that I've been doing, I feel like has really amplified and shown me that the way that we see ourselves and we see the world is truly limited in so many ways. And this is why I do the work that I do, because I feel like through conversations, through awareness, through education, we could really get out of that box, right? That box or that limited mentality of just seeking what is essential, or just seeking what it's reachable, just seeking what has been possible so far. And, we obviously are dealing with a lot of mental health illnesses as well, and traumas, right? And I feel like it's important to bring those up, right? Because of our past experiences, because of our traumas, because of all those things that make us who we are, we have really struggled in many ways to fight those expectations of our family and expectations of ourselves, right? Because they become our own. And it's like you're fighting yourself to some extent in a lot of the things that you do, the way you think, the decisions you make, right? I struggle with that a lot. And I feel like, yeah, like I need to like really shed all these labels, these identities that I have built for myself, that have been given to me, these expectations, these limitations, these ways of thinking and doing things. It's just so much, so many layers of unlearning that has to happen, right? And learning, right? And being open to learning, being open to change. And I feel like the first step to all of this really is awareness, right? In this world, it's difficult to be aware sometimes um, of our behaviors, of our decisions, of the way that people trigger us or don't trigger us, right? There's so much that really I feel like we should be unpacking. And it's not an easy process. It really is not. Um, it's painful, it's lonely, it gets messy because you're really challenging and discovering who you are, right? Who you were and who you want to be. And, a lot of who we are is built up with all those disciplines and should be's of our parents. And they're still hopefully in our lives at this point as an adult, right? But we must say that we are still being challenged in many capacities of what we do because they perceive it as not right or as not normal, right? And when we do certain things as adults, they're often being challenged or questioned. Um, and we have to set those boundaries and those limitations. We can stand our ground and say, no, this is the decision I want to make. I want to be different. And, kindly share why this is the way you want to do it. Maybe perhaps, the past generations are able to heal and perceive things the way that you want to perceive them as an adult. And I really want you to kind of reflect as you hear this of like, how have you grown in the last couple of years, right? Where are you now? What are those things that you feel are hindering your growth, hindering your success, hindering, your financial wellness, hindering your healthy, your emotional, mental wellness? Um, we have the opportunity to really dig deep and make those changes that we need to make and all the benefits that could reap and harvest from this change that we can make to our lives. I feel like we don't spend enough time internally, um, and I'm guilty of this as well. Internally, hearing our bodies, hearing our heart, hearing our soul, hearing the divine, what the divine wants for us, right? Um, And all the questions are there, all the inspiration are there, all the peace and strength are there. Like I always say, the power is within you. And when I say within you, is literally inside. But most importantly, is in the divine, is in Jesus, is in God, is in that higher power that you consider to be your own. And so I really want to invite you to do that, to really dig deep and reflect on the past, right, the present and the future you. Because first gens are trailblazers, we are leaders, we are warriors, we are queens and kings that have been given the opportunity to be born in this country that has so many opportunities. So many opportunities, so many resources, so many just the opportunities are endless if you think about it. And I feel like since we are the trailblazing, we are the ones, kind of creating our own space, our own lives here, as first gens Americans, for example. We have so much potential, like to set those standards, and set that bar for our next generations. So I really want to mention that. And I also want to tell you that as a first gen, you are not your titles, right? You are not your job, you are not your car, you're not where you live, you are not your degrees, right? I feel like as my past life, I would say, I really hold on very tightly to my degrees, to my titles, to the organizations I worked for, because I felt like those were the things that truly identified who I was. And they added value to collaboration, they added value to my self-worth. And I can tell you from experience, from being on this journey of being unemployed for about a year and a half now. I have totally been, flipped upside down to know that degrees, titles, organizations, possessions, materialistic things, whatever it is not really important and is not you, right? So in this time, it was very challenging to know and experience how I was no longer a student, for example, right? I was no longer working for this organization that really was home for me. I was no longer that title, right? And so that really made me question, like, who am I, right? Who am I? What do I want to do? What do I stand for? What do I have to provide or give to the world? Um, it's so empowering, but at the same time, it's so scary to be in that space. And I feel like a lot of us now, as first gen, have also taken that leap of faith of being, I'm no longer going to be in 9 to 5. I'm no longer going to be of what a standard job looks like or live paycheck to paycheck. I'm just going to take a leap of faith. And we are taking that leap of faith. And, whatever that looks like for you, you have to go back to 9 to 5 while you figure it out and open your business or, create your empire. You figure it out the way that it looks for you, but no one has or knows what your path looks like, right? Like everybody's path is different. And along the way, just give yourself some grace, give yourself some love and peace, because only you and the divine could provide that for you. And I am grateful. When I say this, I really mean it from the heart. I'm grateful that I've been able to be in the space of reinventing myself as a first gen, reinventing myself as a woman of color, reinventing myself as a Dominican American, right? Just having like a white canvas of like, okay, like how do I want to be in the next, phase of my life? Like what choices am I gonna make? What habits am I gonna have? What, how am I gonna spend my time? How am I gonna spend my energy? It's just been empowering and scary to have that opportunity. I wouldn't change it for the world. I am grateful to the divine to putting me here, because I do believe that it was for a reason, right? Because if I would have never been laid off from my job, we wouldn't be having this conversation. So that had to happen for me to be like, hey, I'm gonna start a podcast, I'm gonna start digging, I'm gonna start empowering, I'm gonna start educating, and here we are. And now a year and a half later. And so it's been crazy, it's been empowering. But I truly want to, share my support and love for first gens who are figuring it out and who are pushing through to leave something for the next generations. But not only that, they are also healing themselves and the past generations while they do that. And it's such a pivotal moment for us to change, our generations front and back. Us that we have the resources, we have the knowledge, we have the capacity and skills, to have that conversation with our parents, with our grandparents, with our future children, right? And so we are the ones that are going to change the dynamics of our, families of color, of our Hispanic heritage, and there's so much that you can do. And I really want to amplify that, work on your self-worth, work on your self-image, on your beliefs, on your values. And once you do that, then, you'll be able to really amplify and change those around you and change the direction of your life. So I really wanted to really amplify and change the way that we see things. There's so much power in being a first gen. there's so much strength, accountability, creativity. There's so much there. And we can, together we can work and create so much. And so I really wanted to share my story of how that happened, and how that really has helped me create this platform. Um, thank you so much for listening. I truly, truly, um, am so grateful for you to be here and to be part of this community, because without you, it wouldn't be possible. Have an amazing day.
Gem and Me is a community of healing and transformation. I encourage everyone to start their healing journey if they haven't yet. Therapy has transformed my life in so many ways, and I am truly grateful for my therapist and the ability to heal. Once you start healing, the sky is not the limit. Don't pay attention to what others might say or think. Therapy is about you, about making you a wholeheartedly human being. Do this for you. Thank you to BetterHelp for sponsoring this episode. BetterHelp is the world's largest therapy service, and it's 100% online. With BetterHelp, you can tap into a network of over 30,000 licensed and experienced therapists who can help you with a wide range of issues. To get started, you just answer a few questions about your needs and preferences in therapy. That way, BetterHelp can match you with the right therapist from their network. Then you can talk to your therapist however you feel comfortable, whether it is through text, chat, phone, or video call. You can message your therapist at any time and schedule live sessions when it's convenient to you. If your therapist isn't the right fit for any reason, you can switch to a new therapist at no additional cost. With BetterHelp, you can get the same professionalism and quality you expect in in-office therapy, but with a therapist who is custom picked for you. More scheduling and flexibility, and at a more affordable price. Get 10% off your first month at betterhelp.com/gemandmeempowers. That is BetterHelp, HELP.com/gemandmeempowers. I would also share the link on the show notes. Get healed, get right. Thank you. Remember to subscribe, share, and review our show. We love to learn your feedback and know how this information has impacted your life and how we can improve in the future.